a musician, whether you're a male or a female, is really fun, but it's also a lot of hard work. You have to bust your ass off to get money, publicity, to make it all go round. And you're most likely bound to get addicted to feedback, whether it be positive or negative. If you happen to also be a female, you have to get used to endlessly being remarked on your sex, being compared to other female artists, and to always be discussed as either a feminist phenomena or a feminist problem. To cut a long story short, it can be really annoying to be a musician that happens to have a vagina.
I had a woman coming up to me the other day, telling me about how annoying she thought it was that so many people were into our music and our performance without understanding the politics to it. I am a feminist, Ragna is as well, but we have never written one single song about feminism or politics. All our songs are about having fun, partying, and having sex. I find it curious that she feels comfortable claiming some kind of political ownership of our band. Let's forget about the numbers for a little while, let's forget about the wages and the gigs, and focus on how we talk to and about women in the music industry. We are going to talk our way through some of the lessons that we have learned the past couple of years that we wouldn't have necessarily thought about if we didn't all of a sudden decide to become rappers. We will share some of the experiences that have pissed us off the most, and also some of the solutions that we find the most obvious.
So the first preassumption is, girls need to rehearse as much as guys. Well, there's a forever ongoing debate in the Norwegian music industry on the lack of women. Every autumn, the media is filled with the same questions. Which festival can pride themselves on having the most women on stage? Which festival will pride themselves on claiming that they book according to music and quality, and of course the expected sale? This always leads to the conclusion that no, there's still not enough women on stage, which naturally leads to the question, how can we get more? Then the industry will get blamed for being sexist, that they don't work hard enough to go out there, find the women, put them on stage. Some of the industry will then reply that no, it's on the contrary, it's the women's fault. They don't want it as much as the guys. They don't rehearse as much as the guys. Then naturally some of the more successful female artists in Norway will reply that, but hey, I practice every day since I was 3 years old. I own my own studio. I own my own equipment. I record everything myself. I've done everything myself always. It's natural that she feels the need to defend herself, given that seemingly people just expect her to be clueless. But what impression does this leave all the young girls out there with? Well, first of all, you need to be as good as the guys. You need to rehearse as much as them. To be that good, you need to be perfect and a fucking genius at what you do. And until you are that, you won't get anywhere.
So how much do male artists rehearse? I know that a lot of male artists haven't rehearsed that much before they throw together a band or start a musical career, which I think is a very good thing. So, in real life, saying that girls have to practice as much as men means that you can practice every day from the age of 3, or you can meet up once a week with your friends drinking beer and playing guitar. How come so many music lovers and people in the music industry claim that artists like Britney Spears or other singers often aren't proper artists because they're backed by a team who help them make music and they don't make all their music themselves? At the same time as we idolize lead singers of rock bands that have been singing their band members' songs throughout the years. So many artists join forces and work together with people who have other skills than themselves because you get a better product, it's a good thing. When men do this, we call it a collaboration. Often when women do the same, we have a tendency to say that they get help. One of the main problems with being a woman in the music industry is that you have to talk to journalists. And journalists are a big problem. Music journalists are a big problem. I once talked to Arild Remsen, who's pretty famous, an oldish music journalist, and he complained to me that Sandra Kolstad, a Norwegian musician, doesn't have a real band. At that time, she had a band consisting of a drummer, a bassist, and her own samples that she had made herself. This is a band. It's not a traditional rock band, but it is a band. The same journalist has also said that Røyksopp, the electronic Norwegian duo, is the best Norwegian band this decade.
And further, we find it curious that if I were right now to say that you need to start shopping like a homo, you need to start playing basket like a tall black guy, you need to start being efficient like an Asian. That's really rude of me to say, right? These are all generalized pre-assumption or stereotypes. Then why is it that saying like a man is an acknowledged positive comparison, while saying like a woman, gay, trans, colored, is considered short-sighted, patronizing, even discriminating? We strongly believe that we need to stop using the male sex as a guideline for quality. We need to start refocusing on the needed qualities for that given profession, art form, or genre. And we need to start realizing that pop culture and music is about so much more than rehearsing. When we first got booked, we had no intentions whatsoever of becoming rappers. We had never rapped before, we had never written any lyrics before. But we got challenged, we said yes, we threw together a band. And now here we are 2 years after, we played at the biggest festivals in Norway, and we're standing here doing a TED Talk about it, and I promise you, we're really shit at rehearsing.
Still. Another common belief is that if you show skin, dance sensually, or even just look good as a female artist, you're kind of selling yourself cheap. You can even be looked upon as a stupid tool for these important men in the music industry. I don't know who these men are, but people seem to blame them a lot for women's sexuality. Most music revolves around the themes love, sex, heartache, dancing, partying, stuff like this that can all be connected to sex in some kind of way. Therefore, it is very natural as an artist to use your body and your sexuality and sensuality in your music and in your performance. So why are so many women who do this being accused of selling themselves cheaply or using cheap tricks to get attention? Why is sexy underwear a cheap trick, whereas bare-chested rock stars can do whatever they want to do? Aren't Krepler from Dum Dum Boys, Sondre Justad, Iggy Pop, or 50 Cent using their bodies just as much as Britney Spears or Tone Damli Aaberge? And isn't that their privilege as people to use their bodies just as they want to, whenever they want to, and especially in their art? We have never been accused of selling ourselves cheap, even though we obviously use our bodies all the time. I'm standing here doing a TED Talk in a bathing suit. No feminist has ever criticized us of being bad role models for young girls, giving them the impression that to get anywhere you have to use your body. But artists like, for example, Tone Damli Aaberge, which I like to use as an example, get accused of this almost every time she releases music or a new music video. Why is that? Is that just because she is sexy like this, and we are more like... Do we have to stay a bit ugly and make sure that no one at any point will feel like we're trying to please some kind of male eye to be able to continue using our bodies in our music? Sometimes it feels like it, and that's very unfair, and it's very limiting to us as artists. That's the opposite of what we should try to achieve with women in the music industry. People overuse the word objectify, because what does it really mean? If you put a half-naked body woman or man on the top of a car to make the car look more attractive, you are in many ways objectifying this person. Because you take away that person's personality, individuality, and will, and you just make it a selling point for the car. But when Tone Damli Aaberge, my favorite example, is lying in a bed in sexy underwear singing about love, the sensual setting that she has chosen to perform in is actually pretty appropriate. The bed is where we often practice love in its most extreme form. She is trying to tell a story, and she is not objectified when she does this, even though I might and you might find the story a bit uninteresting. Then a lot of people will start blaming the men in the industry again. They will say that she is a victim of this horrible industry and she feels like she has to be sensual to be an artist because that's what we're pressured into believing, which is a very arrogant and condescending assumption that I'm sick of hearing. Because how many great male artists haven't shamelessly used their bodies to express their art? I love it when I see young women in baggy clothes without makeup singing their songs, because we need that. But we can't accept all women to be asexual role models. And thank God for that, because that would have been very boring.
We also have a problem with language. We need to stop defining ourselves and introducing ourselves as female rappers. This is kind of ironic to say, given the fact that we just recently released a single with 4 other female rappers, promoting it and branding it to be the first ever female collaboration within Norwegian hip-hop. But nevertheless, it all boils down to how we talk about it. As long as we point out an artist for being female, cheering her in spite of being female, cheering that she survives in spite of being all alone in this big, scary, man-dominated music industry, we are continuing to withhold the whole assumption that we need to always measure what she does as opposed to like a man would do it. And even worse, we have a tendency to call women in music girls, which is absurd. Have you ever heard about the boy rockers in Metallica? How they inspired tons of young boys out there to pick up their guitar and sing about their inner emotions? You haven't, because it's never been said. So, point is, we're not female rappers. It's no such thing. We're rappers, performers, songwriters. End of story.
I have not been good enough at all at arresting all the idiots that have come my way. And I regret that, because they're probably not all idiots. Sometimes it can be difficult to talk about subjects that we haven't learned how to talk about. And that's why it's important that we educate each other and that we arrest each other when we hear that someone says something idiotic. I'm going to give you some examples of some idiotic things that I've heard, where I should have reacted. One time I was told by another famous Norwegian music journalist, we love them, who had just seen our gig, that we were amazing. He loved our music, he loved our performance, everything was great. And the best part about it was that our bodies were so different. He loved the fact that I had a curvy body with a hint of a belly, thank you very much. And that Ragna had what he called a formatted model body. I don't really know what that is. But anyways, this meant that his girlfriends could always identify with one of us, and that is so important. What the fuck? You don't tell people how their bodies look, because that's just rude. You don't tell musicians that the most important part of their work is their body. You don't assume that women are more interested in identifying with an artist's body than they are in listening to their music or watching their performance. And you wouldn't say any of this bullshit to any male band. Hey, Kvelertak, what a great gig, your music is amazing, you're such great musicians, your performance was kick-ass, and the best thing about you is that you all have such different bodies. And you all show them off on stage, so all my guy friends can connect and identify, and that's so important for us as men. That wouldn't happen. During Bylarm this year, we won a songwriter award handed out by NOPA, which is a Norwegian organization for composers and songwriters. This was a great honor. It was a bit annoying when we heard about some of the discussions that had taken place in the jury. Apparently, one of the judges meant that we shouldn't receive this award because when we become mothers one day, we will regret what we're doing now. We won't be able to stand for it. Like our main goal in life must be to be mothers, like everything we do in our life has to suit that role, and like anything he presumes we decide to do with our personal lives in 10 years from now should affect the way he judges the music we make now as a professional. And by the way, this comes from a guy who has 2 kids, who tours around with a band who screams that they got erections, putting fireworks up their buttholes to make their live show more interesting. Great father.
So, it's a paradox, really, because it's obvious that it's important to continue to discuss women in music, because it is without no doubt still too few of us. Though, as we have talked about today, we feel that it's really necessary to change the way we talk about it. As long as we continue to point out an artist for being female and a victim for the music industry, we continue to withhold the idea that she can't get as far and will need more help than a man. The debate is an endless loop with the same arguments getting thrown back and forth, while everyone's complaining of the lack. We should rather focus on what is already here and research what's boiling underneath the surface. And yeah, there's been a great development the last years. It's still a great development. But it seems like people in general are not really, don't really know how to comprehend this or talk about it in a natural way. That's why our point today is that we need to start educate each other and talk with each other on how we talk about women in music. We need to ensure that it will be an equal experience for a woman and a man to enter the music business. Thank you.